Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant. I'm a life coach, speaker, and believer in the boundless power within every one of us. Each week, we're diving into raw, transformative conversations that not only spark healing, but growth and unshakable clarity. Because you know what? Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and your purpose is waiting to be fully lived. You're in the right place. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where I have an incredible person in the house today that not only influenced my life, but my work. Dr. Sue Morter. I've been trying to have her on the show now for probably 5 years. It just universally, the timing is perfect right now. She's got a new book out, The Anatomy of Awakening, The Energy Codes. If you haven't read any of these books, run out right now. You're going to want them. We're going to link it all up in the end. But hey, Sue. Dr. Sue Morter, welcome to the show.
It's so good to be here. I'm thrilled. I look forward to seeing where we get to go today. And thank you for what you're doing to pull people together like this. It's very, very important. So happy to be here.
It is, you know what, it is important because I believe we are in these times. This is my belief system, and I can feel it energetically that things are shifting and changing, and what we choose energetically and in our vibration is how we're evolving. And if we don't make the decision, and we talked about that a little bit before we started, me, pulling up the book on making decisions or not making decisions is a decision. It's still a vibration. I would say people aren't stuck. Your decisions are, but your decision making is, but you aren't stuck. But,
right. And people don't know what to trust in order to make decisions. And so that's really what this conversation is about. Ultimately is to really develop a direct connection into your own internal knowing so that decisions kind of make themselves. It's kind of a no choice choice. It's like, this is what I have to do. It's what's true for me, regardless of my external circumstances. And that's really where people get hung up. They have a hard time making decisions when they reference the outer world too much and not the inner world enough. So hopefully we can shed some light on that.
I had another question planned, but I'm going to jump right in there because I think the biggest thing I see in my work in the world with people all around the world is second guessing their decisions. Even as a born intuitive, my biggest crisis is, I'm just going to say it supported me and got me where I needed to go, but was second guessing my decision. Can we talk energetically about that? How people can trust? You said trust. And I don't know if you can see trust the process back there. For those of you that are on YouTube watching, it's trust the process behind my head. How can people trust their decision-making process better?
And one of the biggest problems is that people have externalized their referencing. They reference the outer world more than they reference their inner world. And so when it comes time to make a decision, truly our best decisions are made from what's in our heart of hearts, what's in our internal knowing and the deep core wisdom of the inner self. And so until we learn to reference the inner self on a regular basis, then those hot moments where we're supposed to be making a decision remain challenged and difficult. So there's an ancient Sanskrit term called pratyahara, and it means to withdraw your senses into your inner world again. Because basically when we land here, we sort of splat and we disperse. Our mind and our body and our breath are all, just dispersed into the outer world. And we're looking to the outer world to figure out, how do I fit in? Who do I please? How do I make it work? What are my survival, strategies going to be? And so we've built a lot of circuitry to reference the outer world, how people are responding. We read body language all the time. We're into the subtle nuances of getting the cues and getting the clues from the outer world. And all the while, for decades, we leave behind the need, the true essential foundation of our being, which is the internal referencing, because source runs as a deep river through the core of our being. So if we really want to tap into source and be riding that wave gracefully throughout our lives, we have to be referencing what are the vibrations that are rising up through this system on a daily basis, and what are my signature frequencies that I could become so familiar with that I'm confident that when it's present, this is my yes, and when it's not present, thank you, no. And it's an easy process where we're not always weighing out the pros and the cons and addressing things from a strategic, analytical perspective, because miracles don't happen within the world of logic and strategy. right? Transformation doesn't happen there either. It
Right.
happens when we're tapped into something beyond, something more profound than that. And ironically, beyond is actually deeper within. And that's where we've
Mm.
gotten confused. We think that beyond is beyond this world that I can see, and it
Right.
is. But if we really want to reference it and be able to navigate our lives in accordance with it, it's about sensing and feeling more deeply within what is true for me. What do the energies feel like when they're rushing in wisdom and creativity versus coming more external and strategizing and trying to glean more information to make my decisions, but because it's not always the answer for us. So I find that that's the number one reason that people stymie in their decision making process.
Right. So for someone out there listening right now to that, and they're hearing it, they conceptualize it, they understand it, they're trying to process it. Where do they feel that in their body? Where should they feel that in their body when they need to make that decision?
Yeah. So the lower we breathe in our belly, the faster we're going to find this place. It's not just in our hearts. We oftentimes say, follow your heart, what's in your heart, in your heart of hearts, even, but it's deeper still. Because the heart space is truly an essential ingredient when it comes to making any decision that's going to sustain us and serve us in the long run. But the reason that we can't stay in our hearts is because we're not tethered even more deeply than in the heart space down into the gut wisdom, which is even below the navel. And the space between the navel and the heart, which is the solar plexus, has everything to do with how calm or how rapidly darting about our mind is. Believe it or not, the mental body of energies is located in a center called the solar plexus, which is basically where the ribs splay apart. Where if somebody punched you, it would knock the wind out of you. It's right in that area.
Wow.
That area remains so contracted for so many people. The highest use of their mind remains contracted because there's a direct relationship there. So deep wisdom is below the navel in the essential wisdom center of energies. It's a level of consciousness that literally resides that low in our body. So if I want to be able to make decisions based on my deep, true, authentic path and the wisdom that I'm here to further by my own existence here, then I have to start referencing something below my head and, of course, moving through my heart, but going
Right.
deeper still, more deeply into the core of the body. So if someone wants to be grounded and centered and in a sense of presence that is available constantly, unwobbleable, no matter what happens in the outer world in an unexpected manner, then animating and activating these energy centers lower in the body is the way to go. We have to do that in order to feel the truth of who we are and what our true destiny feels like.
Right.
When we can feel that, we choose toward it because it feels so good. So if someone were to take a deep breath in their belly, what it does is it draws the energy down to the lower lobes of the lungs, and those lower lobes of the lungs are animated with parts of the nervous system that is designed to calm you down, the parasympathetic nervous system. And so it activates the relaxation and brings forth the opportunity for creative genius. So if
Mm.
we're breathing and living lower in the body, we have a real opportunity to make wise decisions that aren't,
Mm.
scarcity based or fear based in any way. We're not going to get revved up. We're not going to get pulled out into some crisis that someone would like for us to believe exists so that they can sell us something to calm us down or what
Right.
have you. But to truly drop into a deeper sense of self. It starts lower in the
Mm.
body and a slower pattern of breathing than most people are implementing on a regular basis.
I love the fact that you just addressed that people make decisions from fear-based anxiety, that they're not dropping in. I always tell people if someone's saying it's 24 hours that they have to make decisions now, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Step back, breathe it through. But I also know that the spleen processes the fear. And a lot of times people say, I'm trusting my gut. And I'm thinking that's connected to your spleen. It's where you're processing all your fear. What do you have to say about that? How can they stay out of the fear-based parts of their body that's processing? I mean, oftentimes a lion isn't, I mean, it works for us when a lion's chasing us. But if a
Yeah.
lion isn't chasing us and we're just trying to make a decision and we're terrified to make it, where's the best part? I mean, I love the fact you talked about the solar plex, that punch. I know it's exactly what it feels like. It seizes it. It needs to open. But is that the same concept, or did I?
So when we get into these lower energy centers, they are survival oriented only when we are living on what I call the backside of the model of consciousness, where we're just stuck in surviving and striving and winning and trying to, make it get ours while the getting's good, that kind of a disposition. And there's a bigger truth that's really available to us. And we can't actually access that greater truth if we don't come down into these lower energy centers and learn how to be present with the energies that are there. Because when those energies are ignored, they actually drive our lives in a survival-based manner. But when we are embracing them and animating them and enlivening them, integrating them, those same energies become fortitude and stick-to-itiveness. They become an unwavering certainty that can be disturbed by nothing. It generates your feet in the soil in a new way that plants you deeper and allows you to be the one who remains present when everyone else is in panic mode, trying to avoid feelings that they're not comfortable with. So one of the things that I do is I teach people how to get comfortable with the things that you're uncomfortable with, how to feel feelings that you don't want to feel so that you're not afraid and making decisions in your life in avoidance of those feelings, because they're just energy. They're just energy, and they shouldn't be running your life. They're just an energy frequency. And so if we're unfamiliar with them, we immediately assign an uncomfortable and then a negative association with that because we're trying to control. So if we're trying to control the world, our world or the environment around us, then we have to make sure that whatever happens in my immediate environment only fits into the repertoire of energies that I'm comfortable with, which actually leaves me in a state of fear every day. But if I know that, hey, no matter what comes up, I'm going to be comfortable with it because I can handle anything. Shoot, I've faced my own demons. I've lived and breathed through my own shadow. There's nothing you can do to create something worse for me than what I've already created for myself along the way. So bring it. It's sort of I'm truly, the way to be fearless is to embrace everything that passes through your system. Then there's nothing to be afraid of. And the irony is, Dana, that we're made of the universe. There's nothing missing. We're whole and complete. We are the universe compressed into a physical form and expressing here as that infinite potential. But we don't let ourselves operate that way. We take half of it and push it away and say, that's okay. This is the good stuff. This is the bad stuff. And I'm just going to stay over here. And the universe is never going to stand for that because it's not what it's made of. It's not made of half of itself. It's made of all of itself.
Not going to stand for it. I tell people that all the time.
It's going to bowl you over, at some point.
I kind of look sometimes at, let's be, I can be a guinea pig here. Let me pick a story. I've got a core wound of most people. Let's just do a general because most people can identify with this, of safety. I have a safety issue. So that goes out into the world. And then that's creating lack and scarcity and fear. And they're in this bind of worry, doubt, and fear. And they're in their massive amounts of stories. And they're trying to shift their vibration onto a playing field, a universal playing field of utilizing everything, like you said, that's available to us. There's nothing missing. But how can we conceptualize that and break that down into an easy process for people to say, yes, I hear you, but this is what can be done to solve that?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that if we're going to address what to do in the hot moments of life where it's right upon us and it's sort of an urgent moment, the best way to do that is do some work in the in-between moments so that you're prepared in the moments of life to be able to handle it, because trying to handle it right there in an effective, non-fear-based manner is extra challenging. So this has to become a way of living, like an interest that's deeper than just getting through the hard parts. It's really about, how do I really find my full whole self and be able to live into that no matter what is happening every day. And so that interest level, that curiosity, that level of sincerity will put us in a place where we can actually open some doorways and make a tremendous difference for ourselves. Lots of ways to approach what you just asked. One that comes to mind is, first of all, we have to learn how to be in our bodies and not just living in our heads, not just mentally strategizing and trying to overcome our fear or outrun our fear or outperform our fear, but rather get down into your body, breathe in your belly, start to feel your wisdom, start to feel your power center, which is that same solar plexus that we were referencing earlier, and start to live more grounded physiologically. The body plays a tremendous role in the mind's ability to transform fear into passion. Okay. So safety is not a good enough goal for you, frankly. And if someone's goal is to try to be safe, you're automatically putting yourself in the dualistic world where safety and non-safety exist. And so we're insisting on living in duality, and we're really hoping for unity someday. And that's why it never shows up. So safety isn't a good enough goal. Full expression of my whole, full, true self is. If you're fully expressing your whole, full, true self, safety becomes a non-issue. You're not worried about, am I protected in this situation? Am I guarded in this situation? Am I not going to be overexposed over here in this scenario? Am I going to be okay? It's those thought processes are replaced with different energies that breed different kinds of thoughts. And those different energies are energies of creative genius, innovation, leading, creating, being curious in life rather than being guarded and protecting. So when we truly are down in our bodies and leading life that way, these energies are translated differently inside our own consciousness. And we start to see opportunities instead of ways to protect myself. Right. We start to see openings where I can move into life instead of digging my heels in and hesitating and pulling back. And so here's a practice that can start to blend those worlds more easily for people, that they can move from a fear-based reality where safety is a number one concern into a different, a creative reality where innovation and expression and appreciation of the beauty of life is the number one concern. Because when we're living there, we make actually better decisions than when we're strategizing for safety. We make sustainable decisions. We build businesses that carry us no matter what. We interact in relationship in a different way that's whole and full and complete, not conditional and bargaining and manipulating in order to feel the things that we want to feel. So here's a way to start. If we're living in the body, and there are ways to anchor ourselves in the body that I wrote about in the Energy Codes, and I wrote about it again in my new book in a little bit different angle, all of which is helpful to get people to feel themselves actually living in their bodies, whole and full and complete. So, but we can kind of move into a practice that I think will help people cut to the chase with the question that you're asking. Right. Different areas of the body represent different, or they house different levels of consciousness, different aspects of our wholeness. And so, as we mentioned, our lower body, our lower energy centers, represent our survival aspects of our whole being. Only when they're not integrated. When they're integrated, they represent my solid presence, my unwavering ability to love unconditionally, my ability to tap into ancient wisdom and also be able to implement modern science discoveries because they're actually the same thing. They're just represented through a different, language and descriptor. But all the while, I want to be able to tap into all these parts of me so that I make whole and full and complete decisions, not strategized decisions. Okay. So when we are stressed, when we're triggered about something and we're not feeling safe and we really want to feel safe, there is a question that we can ask that people don't ask that takes us straight into embodiment. And it is not the question of, what's wrong with me? Why do I get so freaked out about these kinds of things? And it's not, what do I have to say to you to have you not do this thing anymore? It's not that either. The best question is not what and why. The best question is where. Where in my body could I build the circuitry to be able to transform this moment into one that is empowering instead of intimidating? Where in my body could I build the circuitry? Where in my body could I live more fully that would allow me to start to translate and transmute and integrate these levels of consciousness into the true expression that they're meant to be having? But I've been outrunning them and suppressing them all my life, so they haven't been able to contribute to the recipe. So now I'm going to let them. So where do I start? That's basically what you're asking.
Yeah,
Where in the body do I start? And the body is going to tell the mind in an instant. As soon as you ask the question, the answer is there. So we have to learn how to listen and learn how to hear that answer, learn how to perceive that answer is how I should say that, because we're not used to listening in that way. But
well, I'm going to interrupt just this
yeah,
one time because I want to see if this is relevant and if this is accurate.
Yeah.
When we started, we talked about, I just had a dental surgery and this fluke that happened and it shouldn't have happened. And then I pulled up, Heal Your Body by Louise Hay, and it said that teeth are decision making. And I broke a tooth off, just, it was random. And it was like, what is going on in the universe? Would that be me going to listen to this part of my body, my mouth, my teeth, and saying, you need to start making decisions? I'm a Libra. I'm a Libra. I'm constantly in injustice and I'm constantly balancing. I feel like I'm a good decision maker. But in that moment, I was trying to make a decision and I was struggling with it. Would that be accurate to say, with what you just said, that what I was going through was to listen? Hey, this is a sign, make a decision.
You bet. Absolutely. Just like an injury to the knee means something different. An injury to the ankle is about stepping forward, stepping into your future. Knees and ankles are about that. Low backs are about not feeling the degree of support that, as if the whole weight of the world is on my shoulders, et cetera. All of that is true. And what I would love for people to do, and this is what I teach people to do, is to be preemptive. So you don't have to chip a tooth and you don't have to injure your knee, or you don't have to get low back pain in order to get the message. That's like the cosmic 2x4. There were messages occurring along the way prior to that on a much more subtle level that are just like, sacred whispers. They're just like, that's right here in the intimacy of life. It's always trying to reveal through our bodies to our minds, but we are not dialed into being able to perceive that when we're on the go and living a busy life and doing the things that we do, et cetera. So it takes something bigger or louder, like, twisting an ankle or wrenching your shoulder or chipping a tooth or hitting your head when you're getting into the car or these kinds of things. So this can all be tracked in the field before the injuries even happen. In other words, we can identify in the energy field around the body interference in the field, and then the person steps off the curb and breaks their ankle. It's detectable before the thing happens. So I want people to learn how to sense that subtle interference that's in the field before the injuries happen or the drama has to unfold or the circumstances have to become the cosmic 2x4. So asking where in the body could I build the circuits to better be able to handle what's happening in my life at this time or what's happening in my life in this moment, this triggering situation. Here's what's going to happen. All of a sudden, your mind is going to be in your throat, or your mind is going to be in your gut. You're going to be saying, I don't really feel anything, but your attention is in your heart space for some reason. There is a reason that your mind goes where it goes. And it is because this whole complex of mind, body, breath is designed to operate as one mechanism, but we've splatted it and separated it out, and we're not using it in its truest form. So we're lost. we've smashed our internal guidance system, if you will, and wondering why we can't navigate. So we can put it back together instantly just by starting to pay attention to it. Little photons start to gather, little electrons and atoms and molecules, and a better sense of self and different chemistries start happening instantly. The moment that we direct our attention in accordance with a universal guidance that is happening through us constantly, if we let it. So we ask, where in my body could I build the circuits, or where could I activate or enliven my existence inside of this system that would better allow me to move beyond desiring safety and be able to move into a life of creative expression? Because when we do connect all these dots, it becomes completely evident that the universe is pouring through us as us and is trying to express abundantly into our life experience. And if we're interrupting that in ways that we don't even know, then we end up with symptoms or breakdowns in situations or relationships or financial circumstances or health or vitality or optimism or you name it. It's all going to be affected if we're interrupting that flow, but we don't know that we're interrupting it until we do. So it's not about looking around. Is your life in a shambles? Then you're interrupting it. Guarantee it. If you're still caught up on a wound from, age 5, you're interrupting the flow, because the flow is designed to heal that up, show you that you're more than you thought you were. You're even more because of the situation. Put the pieces together and do it in a loving way and get you on with really expressing into this world the way that you're designed to be expressing. So I'm going to go back to the exercise and just say, ask the body, where in my system am I not living? Where could I be living more fluidly, more abundantly, more consistently inside my heart, inside my solar plexus, inside my gut, at the pelvic floor and the hips and the legs? Your body is going to show your mind instantly. The body doesn't lie. It's only a reflection of how we're operating with consciousness. If we're allowing all of ourselves to be enlivened, then the body works well. If we are shutting down in some way, we end up with neck pain or joint pain or inflammation or irritation or sleepless nights or fatigue or whatever the diagnosis du jour is. It's like whatever the new fancy term is. Regulating the nervous system is now everybody's
last year. What was it last year? Not trauma. No, it was. Maybe trauma was the trigger word last year.
Yeah,
nervous system this year. Year before, regulate the nervous system.
Trying to put the pieces together, and I commend humanity for trying to do that. I just really want people to realize we're not just a collection of pieces and parts. There's a systematic approach to living in a unified, integrated, whole, healthy way that allows us to flourish on every level in our lives. And so
someone who's listening to this, Sue, right now, and they're listening and they understand conceptually and they want to integrate it and they do identify, but every day they wake up and and I hear this a lot, it's Groundhog's Day. Every day I'm in the same, and no matter what I integrate or ask, where do you feel that in your body? They feel it, they know it, and they're back the next day to it. What do you have to say to those people? Because I think this is the masses.
Yeah. So the reason that it returns is because we didn't do anything with it just because we identified where in my body. So
we need to make the decision.
So what's important next, as soon as you recognize that if you ask where in the body could I build circuits so that I don't have to chip my tooth, for instance, in order to, realize through Louise Hay's book or anything else that this ultimately boils down to me making decisions, where in my body could I build the circuitry to not have to go through that avenue to wake up, to realize? And so it may take you someplace completely different than your tooth. It may take you to your gut, and we have to allow our mind to let the two be related in some way that we don't yet understand. So for instance,
you're absolutely accurate. That's exactly where it took me. Yeah, I know this work enough and I do it. It took me exactly there.
So excellent. So for those that don't know what to do is we ask the question, where in the body could I build the circuits to help my neck pain? And it may take you to your gut. Where in the body could I build the circuits to help my digestive system? The answer might take you to the center of your brain. It might take you to your heart or to your throat area. We have to disconnect what we think we know and listen to what the body is trying to say, because the symptoms that we have aren't the cause. There's a cause of symptoms, and the cause could be seemingly unrelated, but in a different location or a different aspect of our whole self, and that we can't logically put together yet until we start to learn more about it.
I
So
love
here's
that.
the
Yet.
key.
Yet.
Yeah, it's yet, because eventually you do get it. So here's what you do. As soon as it says, oh, it's in your gut, oh, it's in your stomach, oh, it's in your throat, you don't just say, okay, got it. You go there and you stop trying to control everything. And you drop into this area of your body and breathe as if you're coming home to yourself for the first time, maybe in 30 years, maybe longer, that you're actually listening and you're connecting and you're reuniting with a part of yourself that you abandoned long ago because you kicked into protection and performing and all the things that we do when we're afraid and we're not integrated and we're young and we don't know what else to do. So when you go into this area that's been revealed to you with all of your heart and soul, and you breathe, and you're gathering and gathering and gathering, and you're releasing everything else that you think is the problem, and you're releasing everything else that you think is the answer or the strategy, and you let all of your energy come into this place, it will be enough to pierce the veil, to have a reset and to restart the engines, if you will, of these aspects of our consciousness and allow them to be enlivened, perhaps for the first time in 20 or 30 years or 10 years or however long ago it was that the trauma that disconnected you or disassociated you in some way began. So now we're here. We're actually here in a deeper truth, in a truer version of ourselves than we've maybe ever known ourselves to be. And there may be tears, it may be emotional.
Well, I'm gonna say the tooth happened. Driving
Yeah.
home from the dentist. I'm gonna confirm everything you just said. So listeners out there, listen up. I was not in pain. I can't take a lot of anesthesia. I didn't get gassed. I endured all of it. And it was an implant. Everything went wrong. And I just thought, first, why? Why do I have to endure this? But I
Mm.
stopped and I said, where do I feel this in my body? And I left the dentist and I cried. And I mean, I haven't cried. I'm not much of a crier. I dropped into a level of grief and
Mm.
sobbing that I don't think I can feel it coming up again a little bit because I can
Mm.
feel it was such an enormous release
Mm.
from my solar plexus, from my, and it was years and years of suppression. And
Mm.
it wasn't about the surgery or the tooth
Right.
it
Right.
at all. And someone says,
Never
"Oh, I'm
is.
so sorry. You're in so much pain. What can I do? Can I get you an icy?" I'm like, and it's like I wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
But I was in pain.
Yeah.
And I think it came up. I allowed it to come up, and I was so freaking grateful that
Mm.
by the time I got home, I went to sleep and I felt like the weight of the world had been lifted from me, that the decision making that I was afraid of making, I made. And then
Mm.
I started putting, and then the universe, I think, is always working for us, just starts aligning everything I had wanted to do that I'd put off, started showing up. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, okay, yes, 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 yes. Would that be about what people, I mean, just to confirm what you said, would it look something like that?
100%.
Yeah.
So, if we're trembling and we're crying or we're in this state of we don't know what to do with it, the mind is trying to assign all kinds of reasons that
Yeah.
that we're crying or that we're upset or the logic that says, this isn't going to get me anywhere. I need to just go make these decisions. I got to stop crying. We have to just pause all of that and just let ourselves feel what we did not allow ourselves to feel maybe 30 years ago. And when we do, instantly circuits start connecting. A rearrangement happens because you're becoming more present for yourself than you ever were or at least since whatever it was that dispersed you. And when that presence is there, a sense of certainty arrives, a sense of well-being, a sense of preciousness, and a sense of strength all at the same time just starts to birth up and out of you. And the next thing you know, you don't do it so that this next thing will happen, but this next thing does happen if you do it unconditionally. If you're just there for yourself, what ends up happening is you connect some circuitry, your system is running more completely like it's designed to be running, and you find that you do have answers, and you're making decisions, and you're innovative in ways that you didn't even know you weren't before. And you're taking things into consideration that allow those decisions to be real decisions, like your decision, not the smart decision, but yours. And when it's yours, it is the smart decision. It might not be what everybody else is doing, but that's okay, because everybody out there is pretty freaked out because they're not in this conversation right now. You follow?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. 1000%. I wrote down a powerful question. I mean, I haven't even looked down because it's just been such in flow and exactly what not only on point, but energetically, it's so vibrationally aligned. And I didn't even have to look down and ask these questions, but I did write down something you teach, and I'm going to read it because I wrote it down intuitively. When I get up at 3 o'clock every morning and I meditate and I pull things in, and then I'm left-handed, I write upside down and backwards, and then I can never read what I write, but I translated it. I'm like, I think this is what I meant when I wrote this at 3 o'clock this morning, that you teach the body that it holds a kind of intelligence that almost predicts the mind stories about who we are. And if a listener has spent their whole life building an identity, a business, a reputation that they don't want to let go of, I'll add that in. I did put that, a self around, around overcoming a wound, a crisis, a tragedy. What actually happens to their identity when the energy behind the wound finally releases? Who is left?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's a realistic question, because, we're successful people in the world, or we're trying to become, or whatever, whoever is here listening today. We've created what we've created, and we don't want it to crumble just because we're finding some deeper version of ourselves. It's a concern of the protective and the performing personality. And so here's what I want everyone to realize is that when we start connecting with the true energies underneath that were never connected before, what happens is we develop a sense of wisdom. It's not that we have to crash everything that we've already created. It's that something deep inside of the structure that we've created starts to rise, and it's stable, it's present, and it's deeply true, and it's deeply welcoming and welcome in the world. It's okay. It's not striving. It's not trying to perform or to prove or to hold on. It's nothing. It's just what's real, and it's good. Think of it as goodness, and that will help, because this thing that's filling up the structure that we have built is the goodness that we always wanted to feel. And we went out to build things so that we could feel good. But what the goodness is a goodness that existed before that whole effort began. And it's the truth of what we're searching for. And it's right there, ready to emerge. So it won't crash and crumble things. It starts to meld them and melt them into itself and build a structure that has a deeper meaning, that's more sustainable, that's more expressive to your heart and your soul and your strategy and your success, all at the same time. Because at the end of the day, the universe doesn't want you to fail, even if you built something that was just the smart thing to do, but it really wasn't fulfilling you on a deep, heartfelt level. When the deep, heartfelt level starts to rise because you're connecting the dots on things that you left behind in an effort to go try to make a way for yourself in the world, the universe isn't going to punish you for that. It's not going to destroy what you had created previously. It's going to fill it in with the goodness of your own full, true self. The rest of you gets to show up to the structures that you have built. And so
is our subconscious our true self? It is.
Yeah. Well, it's only subconscious because we're not awake to it. When we awaken to it, the subconscious becomes conscious. It births into our awareness. So it's our super consciousness that is actually operating on a subconscious level until we draw it up and allow it to become conscious. That's what awakening is. That's what the purpose of our life is. And that's what success is. And that's what healing is. And that's when we put it all together. It's because the superconscious that has previously been operating as the subconscious is now able to birth itself into our actual lives, contribute to the decisions that we make and the ways that we feel and the ways that we interact and the ways that we interpret the things that are happening in our lives, the stories that we write become based in possibility and supportedness and aliveness that didn't exist in our awareness previously when we started out, in our 20s or whatever, trying to go, let's go make this happen. It's not that we were creating a bad thing. It's just that we weren't creating the whole thing. We weren't creating from a place of wholeness. We were maybe strategizing and trying to perform and protect and do all these things that, we do until we don't have to do it for those reasons. So your business can remain the same, your relationship can remain the same, but the quality inside of those experiences, the quality of your life experience will definitely change. It will enhance and improve so beautifully. And if it's time to make a change in your business or in your relationship or whatever, it becomes more profoundly guided than feeling like you just don't have the guts to do it or the courage to step into the conversations that need to take place. They happen gracefully, based in love and based in the highest good for all, instead of, just trying to guard and protect and weave my way through this and survive it. That's just no way to live. So it gives us access to having the wherewithal to truly transform.
Well, the people that, and hearing what you just said and watching people evolve and ride the wave, and you can see them starting to trust and flourish, and you can feel it, and you're like, bravo. And then all of a sudden, there's a moment they get frightened and they revert back and they're grabbing, and you can see that too. I mean, of everything that was safe and familiar. What can
Yeah.
we do at that
Yeah.
moment to help the listeners pivot and say, wait a minute, and stay
Mm.
within the trust and the field of flow
Yeah.
and nurture?
Yeah, I think a greater understanding of what's actually happening in that moment would be very helpful. There's a
Thank you.
cycle in our life that is ever spiraling us upward. And in that cycle, there's a phase of creativity and a phase of being nurtured and sustained by the projects that we've created. And then a phase in that cycle of letting go of what we no longer need because we're birthing into something new. And then there's a phase in that cycle of now I don't really know who I am at all because I'm now operating in a greater sense of self and I don't know what's what. And if we are okay with every one of those four phases in the cycle, I talk about this in both of the books that I've written. If we're okay in all of those phases, then what happens is we go around that cycle again, but we're up leveling. And then we're up leveling. And so it becomes this ever spiraling, evolutionary expression of who we are and who we're meant to be in this world. So do this. If you find that you're going along and you're in the flow and that river's pouring and flowing and you're riding it and everything's great, and then all of a sudden you're contracted and you're in this, like what you would say is, I fell back into this world that I was in. I want you to know that actually what's happening in that moment is you're implementing what you've already evolved into. You're getting into those subconscious crevices and it feels like you're stepping backward, but you're actually moving into what's called this void where you're inventing yourself. You're not the same person that you were the last time you were in that set of circumstances. And if you'll sit down and take an inventory, you'll see that you're not. That yes, you're back in some of these same feelings or some of the same similar circumstances or a dynamic that looks oh so familiar. But if you stop and sit there, if you've been working with this work in this way, and then you find yourself in that moment, you'll be able to take an inventory and see, yes, but I'm not staying. I can feel it's not as deep, it's not as intense, it hasn't derailed me as much as it usually does. So I am not at that same plane of consciousness. I'm ever practicing and evolving into these new discoveries of of parts of me that I've never exercised before. So by going back into those moments, we're able to exercise the new versions of ourselves that we're discovering and put them to practice. And what it ends up doing is correcting once and for all these crevices that we fall into, that feel like we fell in some big pothole and lost track of all of our progress. It's not that. It's not
Love
that.
the crevices. I mean, I can't even believe we've been an hour. I could sit here for 5 hours and soak this up. And I feel like we've just had 5 minutes, literally. And I
Yeah.
looked down and I haven't, even looked at like dozens of fabulous questions, but I looked down and something like energetically came off my page. And it was your 7 codes. Can you walk us through the 7 codes at a high level of what really entrepreneurs resist the most and why they resist it?
So, the 7 codes it's a big discussion. There are just aspects of our consciousness that each of them is addressing. The anchoring code is something that people can begin with because it allows them to learn how to live in their bodies instead of just living in their head. And, we're required to make a lot of big decisions. I run an institute that has 3 schools in it, have employees all around the world that are helping to run this thing and, teaching 140 countries around the world. There's a lot that's going on in my world. I have to make decisions. And the only way I can make those decisions in a sustainable and consistent fashion is if the anchoring code is active and enlivened in my life, which means I'm living in my body, not just in my head. So I know the answer to things. I can feel in an instant if this is a right thing for us to do or not, and so on. I get it. And the code system that rises up from there is such a beautiful way for us to build upon that, where it is allowing us to clear subconscious memories. It's allowing us to recognize the value of clearing the subconscious interferences and retraining our minds to operate differently. So what in each of the codes we're doing, as well as addressing our body chemistries and how we can navigate healing faster and being in an empowered state and situation, are a recognition that we're a multidimensional being. We're not just a physical human being trying to survive this life, that we have resources beyond the visible eye, and teaching people how to embrace those and utilize those resources in order to live the life that they're truly wanting to live. And so as we are implementing the qualities in each of these, they're codified systematic approaches to activating all levels of consciousness that you are made of, that you're comprised of, that the world hasn't taught us to draw upon in order to make great decisions or to enjoy life all at the same time. That we're not trying to make decisions so that we can have an enjoyable life. We're learning how to live an enjoyable life, and the decisions come more naturally because we're dialing into a vibrational frequency where the answers already live, the answers already reside. So it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's chemical, it's a way for us to align our systems so that they can perform the way that they were designed to be performing in this world.
So good. Okay, I know we're running out of time, so a couple last things. What is something you'd like to leave this audience with that I perhaps haven't touched in or asked that you would like to share?
Yeah, it's probably that we are multidimensional. We perceive ourselves as these human beings that are having to survive and strive and make things work. And if we could awaken to our invisible anatomy, in fact, I just wrote a second book about that called The Anatomy of Awakening, and it's about identifying with the high vibrational energetic version of yourself that gets left behind when we've been living a life based on strategizing and based on performing, because you're made for more than that. And so ironically, when we start to activate more of these higher frequency energies, we fuel the whole system that we've been kind of running dry because we've been using up all the resources that we knew of. When we learn about more of our resources and implement them into the systems that we've created in our lives, there's a greater sense of well-being. There's a greater sense of automatically being guided, and that the universe wants you to succeed, and the universe is in the divine design of you healing and of having successful, loving relationships and birthing new ideas and innovations. We're built for that. But if we don't know how to tap into that kind of invisible resource, then it remains invisible to us. So I guess the message would be that there's more to you than meets the eye. And it's a beautiful moment in time for you to get to know that, because the outer world is begging you to do that. The outer world and all of the stabilities that we counted on forever is dissolving before our eyes. Everything is changing. And the reason that we feel unstable in that is because we've been too dependent on the outer world to tell us who we are. We're hanging on for dear life, and it's rapidly dissolving and changing and shape shifting in an attempt to guide you internal. You got to come back in here where it doesn't matter what's going on in the outer world for you to know what's next for you and how to lead instead of just follow or frame it up as, surviving. There's something so much greater in store for us. And that's what we're here to. It's really the purpose of our life, is to discover that and then to play with it and to implement it into the life that we previously knew, to enhance it in ways we never really dreamt of.
Boy, it brings us back to the original when we started. Trusting your intuition, trusting that your body, trusting that you know your own truth,
Right.
not the external world and validation that we hang on to for safety, kind of
Yeah.
safety or whatever it is we need
Yeah.
externally to sustain.
Yeah.
Dr. Sue
Yeah.
Morter, hey, how can people find you right now? We know you've got an institute. I'll do. We're going to have all the links and all of that. But where can people find you right now? Do you have any upcoming gigs, programs, anything anyone can tap into? Because we're going to launch
Yes.
this immediately.
Sure. Well, we actually have an in-person event coming up in the fall in Santa Fe called Ignite, and I teach all these principles and these practices, and then we go through them every day for 4 days. We're practicing. It's not just a teaching, lecture, take notes thing. It's an experiential healing expression for 4 days in the most beautiful of ways. And I teach a little bit about why it's working for you, so you have an appreciation for it along the way. But it's a beautiful thing. I look forward to it every year. So that will be engaged. It's in October coming up. So you
What
can
part of
check that
October?
out.
What do we know the dates at all? October?
I don't know. I'm in my head right now. I think it's
That's
like
okay.
17, 18, 19, somewhere right in there, whatever that weekend is. Sorry, I don't have that top of
No,
mind.
no. I just, it's just
Um,
I have a retreat early on, and then I've got an event and a keynote. And I'm like, if it's at the end of October, I may. So
yeah.
y'all heard it here. I'll probably be in Santa Fe, which I love,
Yes,
in the end of
yes.
October, which
Yeah.
that sounds like an amazing place to be. All
Yes.
right, you've got two books out: The Anatomy of Awakening, your latest one, The Energy Codes. Um, I just can't. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see the book. I want you to go look up the Energy Codes, The Anatomy of Awakening. These books changed my life and my relationship to energy, vibration, my understanding of it. You explain it not so much in layman's terms, but perhaps it was digestible for me. And
Mm,
for someone that likes to keep it very simple and very aligned, it spoke to me
mm,
in a very scientific but metaphysical. It just all came together beautifully. So
yeah.
I don't want anyone out there to get overwhelmed. I want you to grab the book, follow Sue on where's your hub that you like to hang out at? Instagram, or
Uh,
do you hang out
we're
anywhere out
we're
there?
also we're on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. We just have things going on all the time. I have a website, drsuemorter.com, that also lets you know about all sorts of online courses that we're offering and free healing, experiences for people. And we're just trying to really be in service in all ways. So pretty easy to find.
I love having you here. Dr. Sue Morter, you heard it here first. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And you're going to want, oh, I said that. And we've been on 11111 just for my people out there that are looking for a sign. I it just gave it to you. So thank you for joining us today. And I appreciate you very much and
My pleasure.
grateful. All
My
right.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.